This is a basic residential mower with a residential mower price. And you do get what you pay for, but I think if you paid for this mower, you may be surprised at what you get. Hey friends, it's me, Micah. This is the Homestead Bandwagon, and this is the Bad Boy MZ Magnum. This is a residential mower from Bad Boy Mowers, and we're going to do some very unresidential things with it. Some things that people in the comments are going to get upset about. Listen, I'm not going to set the thing on fire. I'm probably not going to take it off any jumps, but I am going to mow some stuff that should not be mowed with a residential mower, and we're going to see how this thing does. So what kind of tests are we going to do? I'm going to take it out and use it like a residential mower. I'm going to bag with it on the front yard. That's pretty boring, but I'm going to do it just to see what it's like for the rest of y'all who treat your mower like a normal mower. Then I'm going to mow a cow pasture with it that hadn't been mowed for a couple weeks. Very thick, heavy, dense grass. See if I can clog this deck up mowing some pretty wet grass. It's about 9 inches tall. I'm also going to go mow some swamp grass, which you're not supposed to do. I'm going to use it like a brush cutter. I'm going to mow some 6-foot tall grass. I'm going to mow on some hillsides. I'm going to mow around some trees. And you know what? I'm going to use it to mulch up some branches because people always tell me I'm not supposed to do that. That's what I'm going to do with this mower. Let's see how it does. But first, we are going to just go through the features of this thing. You guys have probably seen a product review video before. I'm going to do that format. I'm going to show you the stuff on this mower, and then we're going to take it out and test it and talk about the things I did in that test. Here we go. Yeah, so I borrowed this mower from work to try out. I've never mowed with one of these Magnums, and I always tell people they're decent, so I figured we may as well find out. We'll just start at the front, move our way to the back, then we'll go out and do some mowing challenges real quick to see what this thing can do. So it's a zero turn, caster wheels on the front. All Bad Boy mowers have this nice little setup where you can get into the top of your deck to get to your belts. I really like that setup there. Parking brakes right here. There's a little gap under here, so if you're blowing out your deck, you can get your air in there and blow this out. I really like that. Anti-scalping wheel here. Now this is a 2025 model. They actually sloped the front of this deck, which is kind of nice. If you do get rock strikes or something, it'll kind of help resist that. And look at how reinforced this deck is. Now this again is not the heavy duty commercial model. This is your like entry-level residential model. This thing is thick, made to take a beating. Really, really impressive deck construction on these. Can't say enough about it. These tires are these newfangled Reaper tires. Pretty good traction on them. They didn't really tear up the grass, which is good. They look more aggressive than they really are. Here's a gripe I've got. This is your cup holder. It's big enough to fit a Nalgene bottle, but you go to put one of your NA beers in here, it's going to flop all around. And Bad Boy, you can do better than that. You can give us one that'll fit a wine bottle and one that'll fit a regular bottle. Whatever. This is like a 6-gallon fuel tank, something like that. I'm not good at math. You can look that up. This one has the Kohler engine. I really like these Kohlers, 24 horse. Just like the made in the USA right there. You can love the Kawasaki all you want. I like the Kohler. Again, all the Bad Boys will do this where the seat will flip up and you can get down into the innards here. Battery's easy to get to. There's not a lot of nooks and crannies in here, so it's super easy to get this all cleaned out. There are some adjustments you can make. Kind of hard to see down here, but there are some adjustments you can make here for your steering to make it a little stiffer or a little lighter. Some people think the steering on these is a bit light. I don't mind it. It's got a real light touch, but if you hit hard bumps, you gotta have control so you don't go flinging sideways. We can talk about that more later, I guess, but you can change how stiff or light your steering is. I like the adjustability there. So yeah, everything's super easy to get to, super easy to clean. Fuel shutoff valve, fuel filter, oil filter is that yellow thing, air filters under here. Really easy to get to. This is something important to me. This exhaust is wide open, so a bunch of grass doesn't get trapped up in there and catch your barn on fire. Optional tow hitch thing. All right, so this is where you drain your oil if you're servicing this thing. Here's your belt that goes up to your deck. That's your PTO. What really makes these what I would call them residential instead of like, I don't know, prosumer grade or heavy duty or whatever you want to call it is the transmissions. These transmissions, there's not a filter on them. So they're really not serviceable. So after your mower gets a certain age or gets, you know, higher hours on it, maybe 500 hours, who really knows? The transmissions are just going to wear out. Your deck will never wear out. With proper care and feeding, your engine should last a long time, but your transmissions will wear out over time. And that's what, in my mind, makes this one kind of an entry-level residential mower. The fact that you can't service the transmissions, which will limit its lifespan. But for most people, it'll last a really, really, really long time. The seat, not a super high back. It does have a little sweat pocket or a sweat hole in the back so you don't get too hot. I would like a taller back on my seat, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, and you can put what they call a track seat kit on this if you want a little suspension. I did a video on that with my ZT Elite. You could find a link to that in the description of the video. There's where you turn on your blades. There's how you turn it on. There's your hand throttle. This is your deck height control here. So basically what happens is you push this down with your foot, deck raises up, you spin this to your desired height, let go with your foot, deck drops to your desired height. Pretty simple. But what about the big tests? What about mowing 6-foot tall swamp grass? So we have kind of a seasonal creek that goes through this part of the property. I shoved this mower into the 6-foot tall grass just to see what it would do. I was actually pretty shocked by that too. That was way thicker than I thought it was going to be. This stuff is, it's not even grass. This is just brush we went through. Let's get in down here and see how we did. Okay, so the grass was 6 feet tall. Now it is a bit smaller. We've still got grass that's about 1 foot tall. So we cut down about 5 feet of this. Holy smokes. And some of it we did cut down all the way. I have it at the top height, which is 4.5. But that is a huge difference between that tall brush and what we have here with a basic residential mower. It mowed it no problem. I couldn't go full speed, but I didn't blow a belt. I didn't blow out the bearings on the spindles. It just mowed the grass down. Did it mow it perfectly flush to the ground? No, it did not, which I wouldn't expect. I was mowing 6 foot tall grass and cutting it down to about 4 inches or 5 inches tall. I did have to go back and remow to get it cut a little tighter to the ground, but I was shocked at how well this thing did. And again, didn't bog down at all. I mean, mowing a pasture like this that's so wet will often bog down a deck where you have to get in there and clean it out. I did not have to clean out the deck on this thing in the middle of my mowing. I just kept mowing, and the same after mowing the super high, tall, thick swamp grass, just plowed on through it. I was shocked. Abusive, maybe a little bit, but you gotta see. What if you just don't have a choice? You gotta mow that grass somehow, and you don't wanna get out the weed whacker because you're lazy. So I guess you do have a choice, but you're not gonna do it. You're gonna be lazy. Okay, you can get away with it with this mower. I was shocked. Same with sticks and rocks and molehills. I mowed over all of it. People hate it when I do videos where I mow over piles of sticks, so I did that. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the branches that are over here, but I am gonna leave some pretty good sized sticks. People always get mad at me when I do this. They say you're not supposed to mow sticks with your lawnmower, you're abusing it. I used to like doing this, and then people started complaining. Now I love it. So I'm gonna make sure we got some big sticks here. We're just gonna run them over and see if this thing can chew them up or if it just blows the belt or something. And if it does, I gotta put a new belt on it. We'll get on it. These are bigger sticks than I normally do too. Usually I do some thinner stuff, but you gotta mulch this stuff up somehow. There's a reasonable, well, unreasonable pile of sticks. We're just gonna put the mower over the top of it and see what happens. Yeah, there ain't no sticks there no more. These Bad Boy decks, I'll be honest, they don't always give the cleanest cut on your yard. They really don't. I've compared them to some other mowers and they're not always the cleanest cut, but these things are an absolute brute. Like you could just plow through stuff that you have no business mowing with another mower. And again, this is an entry-level residential mower, just plowing through a brush pile. So this looked like this. It just plowed through it and just turned it into wood chips. There's wood chips everywhere now. So that's the thing I really like about these mowers. That's why I own one, is this thing is just an absolute brute. Again, it might not give this beautiful, clean cut. I think it cuts just fine, but some people say it doesn't give you the best, sharpest cut. But holy smokes, this thing will just mow through anything. You might blow through some spindles and some belts, but if you accidentally mow over some sticks while you're out mowing your lawn, you don't have to worry about the thing shutting down on you and you got to go back to town to get some parts. They do hold up doing stuff that's maybe a little bit edgy. And it mowed over the sticks, no problem. It turned them into small little pieces of stick. It worked like a wood chipper. Is it bad for the blades? Absolutely. Do we occasionally have sticks and small tree branches that we mow over when we're mowing this property? Absolutely. You know, I mean, you're not going to mow over a whole tree or something, but it did really well mowing over stuff that you probably just shouldn't mow over on accident, oopsie, or just by being too lazy to drive around it. Okay, so how does this thing mow? That's all that really matters, right? The first thing I did, which was the easiest test in the world, was just bag grass with this thing in a residential setting, mowing the front yard. And it bags very, very well. I hate bagging with every fiber of my being. It's a pain in the neck. Stopping every few minutes to pull the bags off and to dump the grass and to find places to dump it. I just cut and throw. But if I were to bag, I would certainly bag with this mower. It had such good vacuum pulling the grass up and shoving it into the bagger that I had trouble keeping up, to be honest with you, because we have never bagged this property. So it was pulling up grass that had been cut over the years. And it pulled it up fast and it filled that bagger fast, and I was dumping the bagger a lot. Again, I do have a review of this exact bagging system in another video. I will link that if you're interested in bagging, which I am not interested in. But if I were, I would certainly bag with this mower as a basic residential mower that bags grass It does incredible. I would say even better than those kind of baggers with the turbines that suck the grass up, because this thing cannot clog even with wet, heavy grass. Did a really good job. But I think outside of regular residential mowing is where this thing actually surprised me, because of course I expected it to mow just fine in a residential setting. If it didn't, that'd be a real shock. It's a good mower for a residential mower. But what about out here? Mowing a giant pasture, well, maybe not giant, but 4 or 5 acres. Mowing among trees, mowing around the trees, mowing on hills. Maybe you can't see, but there's a hillside here we have to mow. And mowing swamp grass, mowing sticks, mowing molehills, all sorts of garbage you're not supposed to do with a mower in general, but especially a basic residential mower. To talk about the pasture first, it's kind of like mowing a lawn, right? You're just mowing stripes, straight up, straight down. The situation we were in is I hadn't mowed for about 2 weeks. Maybe it was only a week, I don't remember. I feel like I'm always mowing. But part of the pasture had gotten out ahead of me and it was about 9 inches tall. I set this thing at its top height and it cut just fine. It did leave a couple kind of, I would call it holidays behind, of just grass that was unmowed, which I guess could be expected. You know, if you're dealing with so much material all at once, maybe you can't get it all in one pass. It was rare, but it did leave a little uncut grass behind when I was chopping 9-inch grass down to 4.5 or 4-inch grass. That's just what happened. Overall, mowing the pasture, it did great though. It never bogged down, it never quit. The grass out here was very thick and wet. It had rained about a week before, and there's a lot of moisture still in that grass. This is not light, airy, fluffy, dry grass. This is very thick grass, and it never clogged up. I was able to go full speed in the field for the most part, except where it got bumpy. See, this mower doesn't have a suspension on the body or a suspension seat, and the tires are kind of small. You don't have a lot of suspension to save you from feeling like you got beat up. And I did feel a little bit beat up when I mowed with this thing. It's a stiff ride. But you could remedy that. You could put a suspension seat kit underneath it, like we've done on our main mower, our Bad Boy ZT Elite, and soften up the ride quite a bit. Not too bad. The pasture actually looked pretty good. Once I got done mowing it, I kind of looked back and said, boy, that looks really nice. Now, how about handling though? Basic residential mowers, especially zero turns, are kind of prone to having really crummy handling. There's a couple reasons for this. One of the main reasons is that if you're making a mower for cheap, one of the main places you can cheap out beyond your deck construction or your engine is your transmissions. And that's something nobody ever sees, is the transmissions. This one does have basic entry-level transmissions. They are not serviceable. You cannot change a filter on them and change the fluid. That's where they save some money. So a lot of times those transmissions will either be very sluggish, or they whine a lot, make a lot of noise because they're struggling so much to push the mower up and down hills and around corners, or they're very jerky. You can kind of turn up, to my understanding, a cheap transmission and make that thing really whip snap jerky. Maybe not a lot of horsepower, but a lot of torque really fast. It's just always kind of all over the place, like you can't control it. I found that the mower did not have those problems. I loved the handling on this. It was pretty light. Okay, you didn't have to push real hard or pull real hard to change directions, but when you hit a bump, it didn't go flying one direction or another because your hands suddenly jerked back. It was very well balanced. And you can adjust the feel of the steering on these. That's what I like about these bad boys, is that they'll let you adjust things like that. But I didn't need to adjust the steering. It felt really well balanced, really easy to tell where I was going, and really in control. And that is especially important when you're mowing around things like trees or garden beds, so you don't accidentally bump into things or drive over your flowers or whatever, but on hillsides too. It might be kind of hard to see, but I have a bit of a hillside here, and I've got to kind of weave between trees while mowing. I don't want to come back with a weed whacker and weed whack around the trees. I want to get around the trees while I'm mowing a hillside. So I have to do some kind of technical things, driving downhill while turning, doing a little side hilling, some things that can be dangerous on a zero turn mower or any mower. So you have to have control of your steering, where if you get into a precarious situation with maybe one of your front wheels coming off the ground, you can change pretty quickly, but in control and smoothly, your direction to get back into a safer position. And this mower did a very good job of that. The controls were not sloppy, they were responsive, they were smooth. I didn't feel like I was having to work to make the machine move. It just did what I wanted when I wanted it to do it. It controls very well with repetitive turns around multiple trees all afternoon long. The steering was light enough that I didn't feel like I was getting a stinking workout. So you could put a person who is not a big hulking beast on this machine and they're not going to feel worn out from just using it. So I did find that the steering was one of my favorite things about this mower. Oddly enough, the steering. All right, so in the end, who is this mower not good for? I would say this mower is not good for people who are maintaining a putting green. I don't think it's built for that. I did notice on some of my mowing, it might have missed a blade of grass or two here and there. Listen, I'm not getting in there with a microscope and trying to, measure each little blade of grass with a pair of calipers, but in my mowing, there was the occasional blade of grass that got left behind that didn't get cut all the way. I don't think this is a lawnmower made for mowing putting greens. But for the rest of us, for those of us mowing rougher, tougher properties, the kind of property where you need something that is a bit of a, once again, a brute, this mower is awesome for the money. If you don't have the budget for a bigger, badder mower, and you got to mow, a half acre up to maybe 4 acres, it'll certainly do it. And even if you forget to mow for a week, it'll come in there and it'll get the job done. Will there be some maintenance you'll have to do to the mower over time? Absolutely. Is it going to last you 20 years if you're mowing 6 hours a week? I don't think so. Okay, this is a basic residential mower with a residential mower price. And you do get what you pay for, but I think if you paid for this mower, you may be surprised at what you get, which is a very heavy-duty mower that'll handle what you throw at it, whether you want to bag, where's that bagger, or you want to just cut and throw. And maybe if you want to mulch, I don't talk about mulching because I don't do it, and I did not put a mulch kit on this mower, but I do know that the mulch kits are great. They're commercial quality. So, would I buy this mower? No, absolutely not. I already have a good mower, and I don't need this mower. Would I recommend somebody buys it? Yes, if there's a budget constraint, absolutely buy this mower up to about 4 acres. Mowing more than that, maybe you're going to put some premature wear and tear on this mower where you should just turn up your budget a little bit, maybe finance a little, buy something a little heavier duty that'll just last you a little longer. Mowing a big property really puts a beating on a basic residential mower. So spending a little more, you will get more. But for most people's, yes, I would recommend it. Of course, I'd recommend it. All right, guys, we'll see you later.